In this video, I'm going to talk about GKE Autopilot. GKE is a managed service for Kubernetes in Google Cloud Platform, one of the best Kubernetes managed services out there in the cloud, I would say. And the best thing about GKE is that it is evolving pretty rapidly, and every month there is new improvement. Just recently, Google has announced that now the default mode of operations in GKE would be Autopilot. In very simplest term, autopilot means that it would be hiding all the intricacies of managing the Kubernetes from the end user so that you could focus more on your workloads instead of your Kubernetes infrastructure. Now, if you have worked in AWS EKS, which is AWS Managed Kubernetes Service, you might have heard of Fargate. Fargate is a technology from AWS that provides on-demand, right-sized compute capacity for containers, but with few limitations. Autopilot is similar to Fargate because it enables you to not to worry about the underlying hardware or even VMs. You shouldn't be worrying about how you should be sizing your compute nodes and how you should bin pack your containers for cost optimization. That is what Fargate is all about, and also the autopilot in GKE. But autopilot in GKE has few advantages and they are quite significant. With autopilot, not only it hides Kubernetes so you can focus on deploying your workload, but it also enables you to not to worry about different Kubernetes types. Along with everything else, you can deploy daemon sets and a few other Kubernetes constructs in Autopilot, which is not possible in Fargate and AWS EKS. And that's a big headache, especially when it comes to the logging and monitoring. For example, if you want to use some of the daemon sets, such as any third party tools, you have to have a managed node group in AWS EKS, which is not Fargate, where you still have to mention your hardware. But in GKE, in Autopilot, you can deploy the daemon sets on the same serverless technology, which is Autopilot. So that's a huge advantage. Now, um, let's have a quick look as how to create a GKE Autopilot cluster. So when you log into your GCP console and go to, after of course enabling your API for Kubernetes, you can go and check the create cluster option. Once you're on that screen, it would ask you to create the cluster with autopilot, which is a recommended way. Once you're on that screen and click there, then you can follow these steps to create your autopilot cluster. As I mentioned, the first step is to enable the GKE API, which is just clicking this button. Once that's done, then you should create an autopilot cluster, which is fairly easy. All you have to do is that you should go to that console and then click the plus button if you're on the console, configure, give your region, and then choose public cluster, private cluster, depending on your configuration or requirement, and then click create. And that's it. If you want to use your CLI command, then for gcloud, you can use this simple command where all you need to do is to specify your region and your project ID. That's it. Once that's done, you can even set your release channel for this new autopilot cluster. By default, it is the regular stable one. And let me show you what release channel means. Release channel basically is that how frequently the Kubernetes updates are being done. So there are three channels as you can see on the screen. There's a rapid one, regular one, and stable one. It is just about the frequency of release as I said earlier. For the rapid one, the new Kubernetes release is updated every several weeks. For regular, which is a default one, it is 2-3 months after the rapid one, and stable 2-3 months after the regular month, or 6 months, around 5 to 6 months after the rapid release. And I have found out that regular is fine enough, stable also doesn't hurt. And you can set your release with this gcloud command, or you can do it from the console by going to the advanced option. Once that's done, that's all you need to do basically. And then in the familiar command of get credentials from gcloud CLI, get the credentials, and then once you run that command in gcloud, you will get this output that when you describe that cluster, I mean, that output autopilot is enabled true. So that's pretty much it. So once that provision, all you need to do is to provision your deployments or whatever you need to deploy on your Kubernetes cluster. So in a nutshell, autopilot really makes it very easy to not only provision and manage the GKE cluster so that you could focus on your workload. In the subsequent videos, I'm going to delve deeper into GKE Autopilot, and maybe I will show you few different use cases in terms of scalability. I hope this was useful. If you have any comments or feedback, please put them in the comments. Thank you.